Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Today's video is all about the best of 2024. I have to be honest, I did not think 2024 was a stellar year for fragrance releases, especially in the designer realm. But as the year went on, I did find some fragrances that I came to like, love, or really like. All of them are niche with the exception of one, which is a higher end designer, because I was just pretty much underwhelmed by what the designer world came out with this year. There was one designer flanker that I was quite impressed with. Not enough to get a bottle, but I will mention it at the end. Before I get started, if you are new, welcome. If you are a return viewer and have not yet subscribed, I would love it if you would take a moment and consider subscribing to my channel and hit that notification bell. And if you get anything out of the video that you enjoy, I would love a thumbs up. And with that, I'm just gonna dive right in. I'm gonna start with a Jo Malone fragrance, a relatively recent release. In fact, this is her most recent release, and this is Hinoki Cedarwood. And I'm really enjoying this fragrance right now because it really reminds me of Christmas. To me, this smells like a Christmas tree, particularly the needles on the tree with a little bit of spices. It's very green. It's very evergreeny as opposed to, very woody. This is more like the needles of a tree. And there are some slightly sweet spices way off in the background. I don't know what they are. I don't even know if they're listed, but it's this slightly sweet green, evergreeny Christmas tree-like fragrance. I wore it a ton the last couple months heading into Christmas. I did pick this up during the recent Sephora sale, and I'm quite happy with it. Look, Jo Malone fragrances, they don't last forever. The ones in the black bottle, the intense versions, they last a little bit longer, somewhere in between the 3 to 6 hour range, depending on where you spray and what the temperature is. The next one is a fragrance by Kajal, and this is Äican. Now, this has notes that kind of read summer, but this is very much a year-round scent. This to me is a very sweet, slightly syrupy fragrance. It smells a little bit orange to me. So I know there's passion fruit in here. I know there is orange. There is like a zip of ginger, and I'm quite sure that it has a little bit of pineapple as well. It's not necessarily just for the summer only because it's very concentrated, it's very dense, it's a very syrupy, so it is good for the colder weather. And there is a lot of sweetness in the background. I get like there's praline, and there is definitely patchouli. So it almost is that fruituli type of a scent, a little bit sweeter, a little bit denser, and it has that nice zing of ginger. To me, this is like ingenious ginger and vibrato combined and then had an offspring. You would come up with something very, very similar to Äican. I'm really, really enjoying it. I've only worn it a couple times this winter, a few times in the fall, but definitely a year-round scent that I am quite happy with, and I think it's a really good release. The next two fragrances that I think have been really good releases for 2024, one is a scent that I have been talking about a lot of late. This is Patchouli Paris by Guerlain. This is a fantastic patchouli scent, and I used to think, I've said this before, I used to think that this was only for my patchouli lovers. I have been proven wrong. There are so many of you out there who have contacted me and told me that even though you are not typically a patchouli lover, you have either smelled this or purchased it and have really, fallen in love. This is a gorgeous, I would say 10 out of 10 patchouli. It's somewhere in between the chocolatey type of patchouli and the earthy type of patchouli, kind of somewhere right in the middle. It's bright, there are a little bit of aldehydes, and as this, kind of fades and dries down, there is this slightly floral with that iris orris. I don't know if there's any other floral in here. I definitely get that purple flower, iris orris kind of a thing, and it gets sweeter in the dry down. I know there's vanilla, maybe a little bit of amber. To me, it is a gorgeous floral patchouli with a very nice undertone of a vanillic sweetness. This thing has terrific performance, great lasting power. Okay, the next one, you know what? I stand to be corrected. This is a designer scent. I forgot about it. This is from Tumi, and this is Utopia. This is fairly well priced. I want to say the smaller bottle runs about $75. And this to me is a very lovely floral vanilla with a little bit of spices. If you were to trade the jasmine in Utopia with the lavender and Goddess, you kind of swap it out, you would come very, very close to this scent. Unlike Goddess, I think Goddess is a very nice designer scent. I just found that the performance was quite lacking. This is my favorite of the two because I just enjoyed this a little bit more and the lasting power is better. And if you are not typically a fan of jasmine, like I am, I do like jasmine, but not all jasmine. This is kind of a jasmine vanilla for jasmine skeptics, I guess I would say. So a lovely, lovely scent. It has a nice warm ambery vanilla and musk in the dry down. I did add a couple of affordable Middle Eastern fragrances at the end so that there was kind of something in every price range. And I do think there were two Middle Eastern releases that I thought were great. So I'm gonna add those at the very end. So the next one would be Bond No. 9 New York Gardenia. I'm always looking for a really nice gardenia fragrance, which is hard to find because gardenia oftentimes just smells very artificial to me. But this one was a really, really good release because I think the gardenia is very, very realistic. Gardenia is a fantasy note, so you have to take other white florals and combine them to come up with that gardenia accord. And in here, I know they use tuberose and I think they use jasmine to create that gardenia accord. It's quite lovely. It has a little bit of a fresh greenness in the beginning, and as it dries down, it gets a little bit ambery. Still stays true to that gardenia / white flower bouquet. A really, really good fragrance for the hotter months, in my opinion, and I've been really, really enjoying it. Not reaching for it quite that much in the colder weather, but as it starts to warm up, I certainly will. A terrific release by the house of Initio is Narcotic Delight. Man, I really am enjoying this one. I thought, a boozy cherry fragrance, boring. This one was a nice surprise to me because even though it is a boozy cherry fragrance that has been done many, many times, it still has a little bit of uniqueness. There is some tobacco in here, and the tobacco is very, very unisex. It's not too masculine, it's not too feminine. Combines really, really nicely. It's spicy in the beginning from pepper, but that fades, and then you're left with this boozy cherry with a little bit of tobacco, and as it dries down, I get a little bit of apple. I don't know if apple is a listed note or not, but I get a teensy bit of a little apple and a little bit of patchouli and a little bit of vanilla in the dry down, and man, 4 sprays of this will last me all day. Another terrific release from the house of Atelier is Blue Madeleine. Oh my gosh. So if you think that this is going to smell like a pound cake or a cookie, you are going to be disappointed. This is a spicy, milky, creamy tea with a little splash of rose, and it becomes more of a warm, kind of a slightly smoky vanilla in the dry down. But this is primarily a smoky, spicy, milky tea scent. It's not a full-blown gourmand in the sense that it doesn't smell like a dessert tray, but this is still gourmand to me because I get a sweet, spicy, creamy, milky tea with a delicious vanilla in the dry down. It wears softly. I would say it has like mild to moderate projection and longevity, but I absolutely love it, and it is terrific in the colder months. I think this is a great release. Okay, the next fragrance I don't talk about a lot, but I think it was a terrific release of 2024 and a fantastic release from Fragrance du Bois, and this is Sirène, another cherry fragrance, but this is a warm, woody, spicy, slightly incensey fragrance. There's a nice creaminess about this scent. I wouldn't go as far as to say this is milky or lactonic. I would say creamy. So it's woody, it's warm, it's creamy, it has cherries, There is a little splash of incense, but it's not overly smoky. There's amber in here. You know, it has a slight touch of earthiness, whether that is some other note in here or that's just the wood. There is oud. Let me tell you, oud is not always my favorite note, but the oud in here, it's warm and woody without being skanky or animalic. It is marketed to women, and I think this is the only fragrance de bois that's actually marketed to women. But in my opinion, it's perfectly unisex. I think anybody could wear this. As long as you like a warm, creamy, spicy, you know, woody cherry scent that has fantastic performance. Okay, a really fun release this year is by the house of Sora Dora, and this is Red. And this is a sandalwood scent, but this is a sandalwood scent that has a lot of spunk. There is a lot of spice in here, particularly cardamom. So you really do have to be a lover of cardamom. It has a little bit of like a lemon curd opening that does not last forever. As it goes into the dry down stage, like that middle stage, I've said before, not my favorite. It smells a little bit like a tortilla chip, but as it gets into the dry down is definitely my favorite part, even though I do enjoy the opening, but the dry down is this warm, you know, the warm sandalwood, maybe covered with a nutty paste. I think it's hazelnut in here, like a hazelnut paste. And then you sprinkle a little bit of cardamom on the top, or like a cardamom butter on the top. It's just so warm, very unisex, warm, cozy. Really enjoying it this year. Okay, the last niche one before I head into some Middle Eastern scents is one I've been talking about a lot recently, Âme Du Coeur. This is basically a blood orange centered fragrance with a little bit of spiciness. It has some evergreens. It's a little bit green. It has some ginger, so it's a little bit zingy. There's something that I just love. This scent. It's very bright. It's very zesty. It's very zingy. It's very fresh. It has a juiciness to it and a little bit of like patchouli in the base. So there is a slight woodiness to it, particularly in the background, but it's mainly a juicy citrus fragrance that really showcases blood orange with a lovely, you know, a zingy freshness, some evergreens in the background, and a lovely woody dry down. It wears a little bit on the lighter side, but I have been loving wearing this to work. Okay, I haven't always been a huge fan of Middle Eastern scents. In fact, I have found that you really have to try several, dozens and dozens, before I find one or two that really work for me. The two best Middle Eastern releases, in my opinion, for 2024 were these two right here. One is Eclair. You know, this is by the house of Lattafa, and I think this is a fantastic dupe or impression for Bianco Latte. I really, really enjoyed Bianco Latte, which is basically a milky, creamy, vanilla caramel fragrance with a little bit of honey in the background, and I liked most of that scent. I thought it was quite delicious. There was something in there that just did not go over well with me. It smelled a little bit like plastic and green grass, and that was probably the coumarin in there. This one has less of that. It's still very, very much the same Bianco Latte DNA. I get a hint of that plastic nuance, but it's less than the original, and I get none of that kind of that green minty grassiness that I did get in Bianco Latte. So for that reason, I think this might be a little bit better impression or interpretation of that DNA. Now, Bianco Latte lasts forever. This one has good lasting power. It doesn't last as long as Bianco Latte, but I still think it has terrific lasting power, a fantastic release. And the other Middle Eastern Arabian fragrance that I want to talk about that I think was a very, very good release, it is Angham, and I think this is by Lattafa as well. I mean, the bottle is goofy as heck, but the perfume inside, the scent inside is quite good. So this is a lavender vanilla fragrance with a little bit of cacao or cocoa. And it really is pretty much identical to Burberry Goddess. I think this is a better version. I think Burberry Goddess is a very, very good scent. It's a great designer lavender vanilla. I could not get that fragrance to last half an hour to an hour, so I never purchased it. This one again smells basically identical. I would say the lavender is a little bit less noticeable in this one, but the main difference between the two is that this one has significantly better lasting power. So if you were like me and you enjoyed Goddess, did not enjoy the pore longevity, and you didn't really like that lavender note. You can take a little bit of lavender, but not a ton. This is that same DNA. It's a terrific interpretation with the lavender toned down a bit and the lasting power even more. So the last one I want to mention is a designer flanker of Libre. It is called Flowers and Flames, and I really enjoy that perfume. I don't have any of the original Libre releases or flankers anymore, but that one I'm strongly considering buying a full bottle because I think it's quite lovely. It's very fresh. It's a little bit more citrusy, a little bit more floral, a little bit less concentrated, and it's just a lighter, more airy version. And I find the flowers aren't as intense, so I'm strongly considering picking that one up in the near future, maybe 2025. So that's it. 10 to 12-ish solid releases for the year of 2024. If I didn't mention your favorite release from 2024, let us all know down below. And if you enjoyed my content and got something out of this video, I would love a big thumbs up. And with that, I'll see you on the next one.